what is driving this growth? So, what are the drivers of growth that we are seeing right now? Is it just from a geography standpoint, is it tier 1 markets, tier 2 markets expanding, or is it international that is showing some of the growth? Is it more products? Is it really the services business? I mean, if you can just get a take of maybe starting with Vishal, you've up and built towards 50 plus salons. So
right.
Where are you seeing the growth coming from?
So we started about 5 years ago, and we have a unique business model where all operations is driven by us, and we get the exclusive rights and master franchise for international brands like L'Occitane and Elle and Warren Tricomi, and we operate these at luxury hotels, business 5-star hotels, luxury real estate developments, etc., where there is a necessity to have a high-end spa and salon. And we use the strength of the brand, which has a lot of recognition and global perception as being positioned as luxury, and we use our own therapists and stylists whom we train at academies that we run in Bombay and Pune and Bangalore, and we're going to be starting in Delhi and in the US and in the Middle East shortly. And as far as scalability is concerned with our model is an owner-operator run model where the benefit that we're providing to hotel owners and developers is that we come in, we take care of the entire P&L of operating the spa from the hands of the owners or the hotel owners, where even if the hotel chain does have its own spa brand, the truth of the matter is that most hotel chains today succumb to the fact that while they're proficient in filling up rooms and getting people to their dining options, they haven't done such a great job getting people to use their spas and salons, and as a result it's not making too much money. So with us, collaboration with us means a repositioning of that space, not just as a spa salon, but as an integrated wellness space inside a hotel. It's a powerful brand. L'Occitane's, it's present at Four Seasons hotels and Ritz-Carlton hotels and some of the most luxurious hotels worldwide. So to actually get a prospect interested in doing this hasn't really been too difficult for us. And as a result of which we've expanded over the past 2 years across into the US, into the Middle East. We've just signed up for Asia's oldest hotel in Colombo called the Golf Face Hotel. And as far as scalability is concerned, as far as we're concerned, it's important to us because we're focused on an owner-operator model where, our bread and butter is the revenues generated in the spa and salon. So while we're taking the operational cost and risk from the hands of these owners and operating it by ourselves, it makes sense to us once you, scale up we have 54 locations which are signed up and 29 operational in India. And globally, we've signed up for 57 locations. And, in order to be profitable, in order to, just get more collaborations going, etc., it's important to branch out your wings and, be present across different parts of not just India, but in different parts of the world. And, people recognize your model. They recognize that, you're offering a certain type of differentiation. They understand the brand. They're attracted by the brand. And, that's kind of what's helped us to grow.
Interesting. So you're saying, agree, and it is really expansion outside and also building into the hotel business or into existing establishments, not really standalone. Excellent. Vishal, going to you, you're seeing, from an investor's eye, you've seen many of these. Where do you see the growth being driven from?
I think when you look at this industry, we should look at from two levels. One is a macro view, and there I think we see a lot of positives. Obviously, we all realize India is a young country. I think 65% of India would be under 35 years, which is good news for the industry. Second is the disposable income has been growing a lot in the last 10 years. For example, we would be growing at the rate of around 6 to 10% GDP last 10 years. But if you look at the top 20% income category, which is really the target segment for us, that income share has gone up from 47% to 59% last 10 years, which means effectively that top 10% is growing at certainly over 10%, which is certainly higher than the inflation, and therefore the disposable income is increasing, and some of that money will certainly come into this industry. And third is any report you pick up, health, beauty, indulgence is only going to increase. So more money, younger population, and desire to indulge into beauty will certainly is driving the industry last 5-7 years at around 15 to 18%, if not more. So that's the great news. I think this will continue for next 5 years or more. So at a macro level, we see a lot of positives. However, I think there's a bump on the road. If you look at last 1.5 years, consumption has been down quite a bit across all sectors, and this sector is no exception. Be it durables, be it retail, when they were growing like 15%, has come down to 5% and even below. That applies to retail, durables, food, any sector you pick up, and I think applies to us as well. That's one bad news. The second is that the skill needed, the skill is a big challenge. There was a report from KPMG which highlighted that the need for the skilled manpower in our industry will go up 3x from 3.5 million to over 12 million in 8-9 years. And getting that is becoming more challenged. And third thing is that there's a little bit of overcapacity, because last 2 to 5 years we saw a lot of players coming in because the organized sector was increasing, and it's increasing actually. So there were a lot of new players coming in, and last 1 year, 1.5 years, we're seeing a lot of online players coming in, rightly so. So overcapacity, slight overcapacity in a situation where the consumption is a little bit of down, and we have skilled manpower challenge, is a little bit bump on the road. I think the macro story still holds, but I think what we need to see is hopefully this remains a bump and not a bigger issue. So hopefully we should come back, and I think long-term fundamentals stay good. We as investors, I think, find this industry certainly interesting. We just become a little bit more cautious right now given the environment, but I think this is more temporary than a long-term thing.
Understand. So you still pick the better bets in the business after. Arjun, you've been in the business for 10 years. Where are you seeing the growth being driven from? I mean, you've seen independents, you've seen in-chain service salons and spas.
Right.
Where do you see the business really growing, in what direction?
From a retailer and a B2B supplier perspective, we've been serving many salons and spas in over 9 years now. So when I see and read the stats from a KPMG stating that in 2012 the industry was a 40,000 crore rupee, which is going to grow to 81,000 crore rupee by the end of 17-18, with, of course, as Vishal mentioned, the manpower from 3.4 million people, it's going to jump to 4 times with a requirement of 12.1 million people, skilled hairdressers and therapists in the wellness sector, which will be required by 2022. Definitely, the figures, the stats are very interesting, and Mr. Sudheer, I really appreciate the work you're doing in terms of the analysis, because in my MBA days, I always aspired to become a consultant. So I worked for a consultation firm, and when I got an opportunity to, it happened wherein I got into the beauty and wellness sector. I got a contract for the North Indian market to set up their business for the North India, wherein I came in the industry. I feel when it comes to growth, it should be, there are various, when we say number of salons are growing, a number of, chains are coming up, there are many other factors which are required to scale up for growth. What we believe is in how can we lift the whole ecosystem, the salon and wellness ecosystem, how can we raise the barriers, how can we, be problem solvers, how can we be solution providers. So what I feel, from the scalability point of view, that new ideas and innovations, which is technology, which is playing a great role in terms of the growth. Then of course, from the perspective of the government support and the private equity, which is, I think, missing in the industry at this moment. Another interesting, what I felt again, when I entered the industry was that there are major players, Fortune 500 companies like L'Oreal, which is there in the cosmetic end, but there are hardly any, recognized or major players for the equipment and furniture end. So, the investors don't think from the perspective of the supply chain. So if thousands of salons are coming up, we need to back up with the supply chain. So what we have taken an initiative to build an online marketplace, which is called Sparlour.com, which is the first B2B marketplace for professional products. wherein, we don't want only one company to sell. We want the customer to have a comparison of the product, give reviews, and various vendors can come on the portal and sell, So it makes things more transparent, and I think alliances is something which I believe is very important for the growth of the industry.
Okay, get it. So it'll be partnerships that drive the business in some form or shape. Sachin, you putting on a digital hat for you in terms of putting on the digital hat in some form or shape. There is.
I think.
Where do you see the growth is going?
So I think for salon industry, the technological factor is very important here. Now what is happening? A lot of salons are getting opening daily. More of the companies are coming in. So we invest in technology. Like we launched an omni-channel platform for retailers where anybody can set up their online shop, physical shop which they have, and with the IoT platform, Internet of Things platform, and then we also like to bring IoT as well as omni-channel platform for the salons. So like I was talking to you in the morning, how a salon can help to build a relationship with the customer. So as you talk about scalability, as you talk about growth, now it's a time where we can say that we have a long-term, closer relationship with the customer, so that we have a repeat customer in place. So how it's going to happen? If I talk about, you have a social tools. I don't know whether the salon right now have the social tools to connect with their customers or not. Now everybody is going online or on the mobile app, like Zenoti has been launched, Manage My Spa. So they are helping retailers to get into the store, the customers coming in and get the haircut and done. But the payment hassles, the overall scenario, it's more like on-demand saloon services, and how it's going to happen. So that we need to understand for the saloon perspective. If I talk about, I'm opening 100 salon in a daily right now, and another company again comes with 100 stores. So where is the growth? How they are competing each other? So that we need to understand how the technology can help to scale up, to scale in their business, to scale in their customer, to scale in their services, and to scale in their brands as well. How this brand is going to penetrate in the market. So that is the main idea here, and to understand, and we need to understand how the digital space can help them to grow.
Correct. So, Sachin, you're basically saying that, gets me into the sort of piece clearly. You're saying that to scale up, you need to get the big company mindset. How do you get moving towards that? And you presented some very interesting facts around that. Maybe I could throw this one to you in terms of, so one is, yes, we're all broadly bullish on the fact that there is growth happening. But when you look at it from the standpoint of the industry, it largely remains fragmented to a large extent with smaller players. And when you're looking at scaling up for growth, when you're going from few outfits to a large number, on one hand you have potentially a company like Patanjali, which is wellness products in the broader scheme of things, which is probably the fastest growing consumer company in India right now, or to have built that scale. What is it that you see for the spas that you've seen grow, the salons that you've seen grow? What are the things that they do right, going from a small company mindset to a large company mindset? What are the kind of things that they drive right?
Yeah, I think definitely the data also indicates that well-run businesses which are well-structured tend to significantly have better performance characteristics than the unstructured market from what we are seeing, right? So they are doing something right in terms of processes or internal process of how they run their business. But one of the main things is definitely, I think there's more investments in marketing, more from a leveraging technology for marketing perspective. I think that's something which we're seeing some of the better performing ones are doing. But I think there's also, traditionally, there are some brands and people who are very well known in the industry who just do amazingly great numbers because of the service they provide, because of the quality of what they have to offer, the styling or the service. So I think at the end of the day, I mean, we can't lose sight that it is the styling, it is the service, it is the amazing thing that some of them are investing in. And I think the training and all the high caliber of people. But I think, yeah, technology and all these things are possibly helping definitely in their own small ways for the branded ones. But I think the quality of product, I mean, the best organized people are bringing the best quality of product. When I say product, it's the service which they render, which is coming to the table.
So let me tell you, what approach actually we have taken. We have invested in Beauty Depot app. So it's more like own resources, go to the on-demand, perform the on-demand services. with the
You just get the
own
mic closer.
company product, you know. So if suppose somebody is going to the provide the haircut or anything facial at the home, but the product is services product with my own beauty depot product. So it's more like a targeted platform, the approach we have taken, where we are pitching our product to the customer directly by giving the services at the same time. So we see that we are in fact looking at the 100% growth in coming months and looking at a really very good venture, because it's directly giving the product and see the reviews and the feedbacks, you know, instead of launching the product and going into the indirect distribution method or the e-commerce platform, etc. But having a right experience at the right time will grow the product visibility very much. So this is a new kind of approach we have taken care of and launched very recently.
Understand.
So, just if I may add, as part of Everstone, we have a lot of exposure in beauty and wellness. Some of the investments we have are in VLCC, YLG's Salon chain in South India, and Faces, which is a cosmetic product company from Canada, which we have got in India. So we have been looking at this space quite closely from last 5-6 years, focusing more on the services side. One of the biggest mistakes we have seen people make is when they're in too much of a hurry to expand, they don't focus on the unit economics. What I mean is that what is their right positioning? Are they really targeting the top 1% of the consumption of the income bracket, or people below? And which drives their capex plan, which drives their pricing, the kind of talent they want to hire, and the training and everything. Once they got the positioning right and on paper, and more importantly demonstrate the same in a couple of stores, then they got a right blueprint which you can use to expand. Because after you've gone to 5 to 10 salons or more, then coming back and doing a course correction is extremely difficult. So getting the unit economics right becomes critical for the success, because if you got the blueprint right, then expansion becomes a lot more easier. So I think the way I look at it, the first step is, meaning if it takes some time, so be it, get the unit economics right. After that, there are obviously key enablers which have been highlighted by all of you. One being investing in training people. I think that's the most important investment, because that's a differentiator, and we have high attrition levels I see across industry because of the new players coming in. So one is training. Second is processes. Invest early on. Meaning you cannot think of one, if you got 2 stores, you can go across and manage them. But if you got 15 and 20, then experienced people will tell you that you cannot run those salons without having the right processes out there, process checklist, how to manage, ensure consistent services to customer, and it matters a lot. So how to get the processes early on, use technology early on. It's not just to get the customers, which is very important, but also to use technology in the internal working. So introduce technology early, get systems and processes in place, and have a very, very tight focus on cost. Because as I was highlighting, there's a bump on the road right now. Meaning it's a long-term trend is good, but right now, consumption story is a little bit shaken. So if you want to put a couple of crores on capex, then you need to be doubly sure that you want that much walk-ins after that. So having a tight control on costs, with a good unit economics model in place, I think there's a good growth story. As one of the reports you highlighted was the best versus worst, the gap is only widening. In little bit below average markets, it always happens. Winners and losers becomes clearly differentiated, and this is the time. People who prepare well, I think will be successful.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more in that sense of, clearly we're seeing this across the retail business, and more so in this business where you have a large amount of fragmentation. The differentiation or the value proposition has to stand out very, very clearly. And till that does not make the unit economics work, it's not really expandable. But since you're talking about that, be it 5, 10, do you have a sense of where is it where you should really start to expand? I mean, when you say economics, should you stick to one city? Should you sort of do you see that your first few stores, you really build yourself in one city, one territory, one state? Do you look at, because there are opportunities to expand internationally, there are opportunities to expand across, which lure entrepreneurs every day in some form or shape?
I have realized, and there are different answers. I think people have different views. I feel jumping across and covering large number of cities very quickly may not work out too well, because you cannot control. Is a macro. You have to win in each of the micro markets. It's not a pan-India play straight, or maybe a global play to start off with, at least. I think you have to win in each territory, each area. So at least the way I have seen it work better is you pick up a city, kind of go deep there. Once you got good understanding of how to expand in a city, then go to another city, expand there. Once you got confidence in the second city, then you can go a little faster across other cities as well. But in your first 5-10 salons, if you're across 5 cities, I would not be comfortable with that, because you have to cover the city first. Nobody travels 10 kilometers to go to a salon. Nobody does that. So most of the catchment is around local areas. So covering the city first, I think, becomes more important. And a lot of successful salon chains have done that rightly.